January 14th, 1979. Queens, New York. A black sedan pulled quietly onto an empty street. Inside sat one of the most feared young gangsters the Mafia had ever produced. He wasn't nervous. He wasn't running. In fact, he believed this was the happiest day of his life. After years of violence, years of loyalty, and years of proving himself to one of New York's most powerful crime families, he thought he was finally about to become a made man, a title every Mafia associate dreamed of earning. But there was one problem. The ceremony didn't exist. The men sitting beside him already knew the truth. The family had made its decision days earlier. Before sunrise, that gangster would disappear forever. No funeral, no grave, no witnesses, only silence. But here's the mystery. He wasn't the only man responsible for the crime that sealed his fate. Two other gangsters stood beside him. They planned together. They robbed together. They killed together. Yet only one of them received a death sentence. The others lived for decades. One died peacefully behind prison walls. The other became one of the most famous informants in Mafia history. So why was only one man chosen to die? Was it revenge? Was it betrayal? Or was there a rule so powerful that even the deadliest Mafia bosses couldn't ignore it? Because what happened next wasn't just another mob execution. It exposed the one rule that has controlled organized crime for generations. A rule more important than money, more important than loyalty, even more important than murder itself. This is the true story of the gangster who believed he had earned a place inside the Mafia, only to discover he had been driving toward his own execution all along. Before we uncover what happened inside that house, we first have to understand how one young gangster became the most dangerous liability the Mafia had ever created. Long before his name became a whispered warning inside New York's underworld, he was just another kid growing up in a family where crime wasn't considered a mistake. It was a tradition. Tommy DeSimone was born on May 24th, 1950, into a family already connected to organized crime. While most children learn the difference between right and wrong, Tommy grew up watching men earn respect through intimidation, violence, and absolute loyalty to the Mafia. For him, the criminal life wasn't a choice. It was an inheritance. As a teenager, his family settled in Brooklyn, where Mafia influence reached almost every neighborhood. Truck hijackings, illegal gambling, loan sharking, and extortion weren't distant headlines. They were everyday business. Tommy quickly earned a reputation that separated him from everyone around him. He wasn't simply fearless. He was unpredictable. Most gangsters used violence only when it made business sense. Tommy was different. Sometimes, violence was the business. By the time he was only 15 years old, Tommy had attracted the attention of Paul Vario, one of the most powerful captains in the Lucchese crime family. Vario controlled a profitable criminal empire stretching across Brooklyn and Queens. His crew earned millions through cargo theft, gambling operations, loan sharking, and protection rackets. Young associates dreamed of working for him. Tommy got the opportunity. Around the same time, another young associate was climbing the same ladder. His name was Henry Hill. Unlike Tommy, Henry wasn't known for brutality. He was known for loyalty. He knew how to earn money. He knew when to stay quiet. And most importantly, he understood the Mafia's rules. The two young men soon became close partners. They stole together. They ran errands together. They learned how organized crime really worked. But there was one major difference between them. Henry wanted respect. Tommy wanted fear. That difference would eventually decide which one lived and which one disappeared forever. As Tommy gained experience, another important figure entered his life. Jimmy Burke. Older, smarter, more experienced. Jimmy had already built a reputation as one of New York's most successful hijackers. He planned robberies with military precision. He rarely lost control. Unlike Tommy, Jimmy believed every murder should serve a purpose. Money always came first. Soon the three men became one of the most dangerous crews operating under Paul Vario's command. Each brought something different to the table. Jimmy supplied the strategy. Henry handled logistics. Tommy delivered the violence. Together, they became nearly unstoppable. Cargo trucks vanished overnight. Warehouses were emptied before sunrise. Thousands of dollars worth of merchandise disappeared without leaving a single witness behind. Their success earned them more trust inside the organization, more responsibility, and far more dangerous assignments. But beneath the growing success, a serious problem was beginning to emerge. Tommy couldn't control himself. Every insult became a personal challenge. Every disagreement became a reason to reach for a weapon. He didn't think about consequences. He reacted. According to later testimony, one of Tommy's earliest known murders happened while he was still a teenager. The victim wasn't a rival. He wasn't an informant. He wasn't even someone standing in Tommy's way. The killing appeared to happen for almost no reason at all. Inside the Mafia, people noticed. Some admired his fearlessness. Others quietly began asking a different question. Could someone this reckless ever be trusted? Paul Vario continued protecting him. After all, Tommy was earning money. In an organized crime, money often hides dangerous flaws. For a while, every successful robbery strengthened Tommy's confidence. Every escape convinced him he was untouchable. Every act of violence increased his reputation on the streets. Soon, people stopped seeing him as an ambitious young associate. They started seeing him as one of the most dangerous men in New York. Tommy enjoyed that reputation. He wanted people to fear him. He believed fear created power. But inside the Mafia, fear alone was never enough. Respect had to be earned. Rules had to be followed. Discipline had to come before ego. Tommy never understood that lesson. Instead, he believed the rules were meant for everyone else. And that belief was about to place him on a collision course with one of New York's most powerful mafia families. Because in the summer of 1970, a single insult inside an ordinary neighborhood bar would trigger one of the most infamous murders in mafia history. And from that moment forward, Tommy DeSimone's death sentence had already begun. June 11th, 1970. Queens, New York. The bar was crowded. Music echoed through the room. Drinks covered the tables. And some of the most connected men in New York's underworld were celebrating the return of a respected mafia member. His name was Billy Batts. After spending years behind bars, he had finally come home. That night was supposed to be a celebration. Instead, it became the beginning of a war. Billy knew Tommy from years earlier, back when Tommy was still a teenager trying to earn respect on the streets. Seeing him again, Billy couldn't resist reminding everyone of Tommy's past. He laughed. Then came a single insult, a joke that made everyone in the room smile. Everyone, except Tommy. For a few seconds, the room became silent. Henry Hill immediately noticed the look on Tommy's face. He had seen it before. It was the same look Tommy wore just moments before someone died. Henry quickly stepped in. He pulled Tommy outside. He tried to calm him down. He reminded him of something every mafia associate already knew. Billy wasn't just another gangster. He was a made man. Touching him without permission wasn't just illegal inside the mafia. It was a death sentence. For a moment, it seemed like Tommy had accepted it. The anger disappeared from his face. Or at least, that's what everyone believed. Hours passed. Customers slowly left the bar. The music stopped. The streets outside became quiet. Then, Tommy walked back inside, without saying another word. He attacked. The first strike landed before Billy even realized what was happening. A pistol slammed into his face. Another blow shattered his balance. Then came the kicks, the punches, the screams. Jimmy Burke joined the assault. Within seconds, the celebration had turned into absolute chaos. Blood covered the floor. Billy stopped moving, but he wasn't dead. Not yet. Henry stood frozen. There was no turning back now. The three men carried Billy's body outside and forced him into the trunk of a waiting car. They believed the nightmare was over. It had only just begun. Hours later, they reached an isolated location far away from the city. When the trunk opened, Billy was still breathing. The silence lasted only a second. Then the violence started again. By sunrise, Billy Batts was dead. The body disappeared into the ground. The three gangsters believed they had erased every trace of the crime. But the mafia has a memory longer than any police investigation. Word slowly began spreading through New York's underworld. A made man had vanished. No one admitted responsibility. No one spoke openly. But powerful people were asking dangerous questions. Inside the Gambino family, the pressure began to grow. A respected member had disappeared. Someone had to answer for it. Meanwhile, Tommy behaved as if nothing had happened. Instead of disappearing from public view, he became even more reckless. He celebrated. He drank. He intimidated people, almost as though he believed nobody could touch him. That confidence became his greatest weakness. Only weeks later, Tommy found himself inside another neighborhood bar. A young bartender, everyone called Spider, was working that night. Spider wasn't a gangster. He wasn't powerful. He wasn't a threat. He was simply trying to do his job. Tommy had been drinking heavily, looking for entertainment. Without warning, he pulled out a handgun. One shot echoed through the room. Spider collapsed. Miraculously, he survived. Most people would have considered a warning. Spider eventually returned to work. He believed the worst was over. He couldn't have been more wrong. During another late-night card game, Spider answered Tommy with a sarcastic remark. The room froze. Everyone knew what might happen next. Tommy slowly reached for his gun. No argument. No hesitation. Just gunfire. This time, Spider never got back up. For many gangsters inside the room, that was the moment everything changed. Billy Batts could be explained as revenge, or pride, or a personal dispute. But Spider hadn't threatened anyone. His murder served no purpose. Not money, not business, not power. It proved something far more dangerous. Tommy wasn't killing because he had to. He was killing because he wanted to. Even the men closest to him began seeing him differently. Henry Hill later admitted that Tommy's violence had become impossible to predict. Jimmy Burke also understood the danger. A reckless killer attracts police. Police destroy business. And bad business destroys entire mafia families. But Tommy still refused to change. Every successful escape convinced him he was untouchable. Every murder inflated his ego. Every day, he remained free. He believed the rules no longer applied to him. What Tommy didn't realize was that powerful men were already discussing his future behind closed doors. The Gambino family hadn't forgotten Billy Batts. The Lucchese family couldn't ignore the growing pressure forever. And before long, Tommy would become something far more dangerous than an asset. He would become a liability the mafia could no longer afford to protect. December 11th, 1978, JFK Airport. Before sunrise, a small crew of experienced criminals pulled off what was, at the time, one of the largest cash robberies in American history. Millions of dollars disappeared within minutes. No alarms, no gunfight, no mistakes. The mastermind behind the operation was Jimmy Burke. The crew included trusted associates from Paul Vario's organization, and among them was Tommy DeSimone. For a brief moment, it looked like everything had gone perfectly. The robbery made headlines across America. Law enforcement launched one of the biggest investigations in FBI history. But inside the mafia, the real danger wasn't the police. It was greed. Every member of the crew expected a massive payday. Instead, people started disappearing, one after another. A driver vanished. Another associate was found dead inside a parked car. Another body appeared in an abandoned lot. Some were strangled. Others were shot. None of them lived long enough to spend their share of the money. Jimmy Burke wasn't taking chances. Loose ends had to disappear. Witnesses had to disappear. Evidence had to disappear. The robbery had made everyone rich, but it had also made everyone expendable. Surprisingly, Tommy wasn't one of Jimmy's targets. Not because Jimmy trusted him, because someone else had already decided Tommy's fate. For years, the Gambino crime family had been waiting. They never forgot Billy Batts. They never forgot the disrespect. And they certainly never forgot that one of their made men had been murdered without permission. Tommy had crossed the one line the mafia could never ignore. Then he made everything worse. He continued killing. He continued attracting attention. He continued acting as though no rule applied to him. By the beginning of 1979, even Paul Vario could no longer protect him. Behind closed doors, the decision was made. There would be no second chance. There would be no warning. There would only be a trap. Tommy received the news every mafia associate dreamed of hearing. He was finally going to become a made man. For years, he had waited for that moment. He bought new clothes. He prepared himself. He believed his loyalty had finally been rewarded. What he didn't know was that the ceremony didn't exist. The invitation was fake. The promotion was fake. The future he imagined was fake. On the day of the meeting, Tommy climbed into a car with men he trusted. The drive felt ordinary. No one raised their voice. No one acted suspiciously. Everything appeared normal, until the car stopped. Tommy walked toward the house, expecting applause. Instead, he walked into silence. The room wasn't filled with mafia captains. It wasn't an initiation ceremony. It was an execution room, according to multiple accounts. Tommy realized the truth almost instantly, but by then, it was already over. The men waiting inside didn't come to congratulate him. They came to end him. Within moments, one of New York's most feared gangsters disappeared forever. No public funeral, no official record, no body ever recovered. The Mafia had erased one of its own, not because he was weak, not because he couldn't earn money, because he had become impossible to control. But here's the question that still confuses many people. If Tommy participated in Billy Batts' murder, why weren't Jimmy Burke and Henry Hill executed too? After all, they were there. They helped move the body. They helped hide the evidence. So why did Tommy die alone? The answer reveals how the Mafia really thinks. Jimmy Burke wasn't protected because he was innocent. He was protected because he was valuable. He generated millions of dollars. He planned successful robberies. He avoided unnecessary attention. Most importantly, he understood discipline. Violence was simply another business tool, never a hobby. Henry Hill survived for a different reason. He wasn't considered the leader. He wasn't the man who started the attack. Inside the Mafia's eyes, he played a supporting role. Years later, when federal investigators closed in, Henry made a decision that changed Mafia history. He became a government witness. His testimony exposed dozens of mobsters and helped prosecutors dismantle major criminal operations. By then, killing him served no purpose. The damage had already been done. Tommy never understood any of this. He believed reputation created protection. He believed fear created power. He believed violence solved every problem. The Mafia believed something entirely different. Money creates value. Discipline creates trust. Rules create survival. Tommy ignored every one of those rules. Eventually, even the men who once protected him accepted the inevitable. Because organized crime isn't built on friendship. It isn't built on loyalty. And it certainly isn't built on emotion. It's built on survival. The moment someone becomes more dangerous alive than dead, their fate is sealed. Tommy DeSimone didn't die because he killed one man. He died because he proved again and again that he could no longer be controlled. His execution sent a message that echoed through every Mafia family in America. No matter how feared you become, no matter how much money you earn, no matter how many enemies you've eliminated, no one is bigger than the family. And if the family decides you're a threat, your last ride may already be waiting outside. The Mafia doesn't forgive. It doesn't forget. And in the end, the rules always win.